Australia Day turned out to be a memorable event for all the wrong reasons. The minority race-based activist movement intent on destroying the state while somehow living off the state has seen its ranks of supporters swell with the university class. And this un-Australian parade has been made much worse by the presence of tens of thousands of migrants flying Palestinian flags. The result has been the merging of the Palestinian cause with the Indigenous activist cause, and offensive slogans like "From the river to the sea, always was, always will be" emerging. Now, as writers Thomas B. and Jessica Alexandra wrote this week, thank goodness the voice to Parliament failed, or this movement would be enshrined in our Constitution. But amongst this ideological mess, Terry, we've seen at least 3 statues of Captain Cook horrifically defaced and destroyed. You've written an article called "The Great Shame of Australia Day" discussing this. What do you make of these events, Terry?
Well, I think first things first there, Alexandra. I don't think it's necessarily migrants who are chanting those messages. It's actually Australian-born, Australian citizen activists who are getting on this bandwagon and doing a crossover, aren't they, into 2 bandwagons, the Aboriginal one and the Palestinian one. So I think we have to just remember that it's probably the so-called great and good who are actually driving all of this. But in terms of Captain Cook, I just don't understand it. I mean, Captain Cook was a great man. Yes, he did come to Australia in 1770. He landed here twice, once at Botany Bay and once up near Cooktown in Queensland when his ship, the Endeavour, hit a reef. He basically had instructions from the British Admiralty to treat the natives kindly and with respect, and he did that. He bent over backwards to make contact both in Botany Bay and in Queensland. He didn't shoot, he didn't murder, he didn't dispossess, but he's treated as the big bogeyman when really European settlement didn't happen for 20 years after him. And actually, if you're looking at historically at the way that the Cook expedition was followed up, it was actually Sir Joseph Banks who was on the trip with Cook, who talked about the wonders of New Holland, as it was then, and settlement on the east coast of Australia. And he was the one who recommended to the British government that we should have a settlement in Botany Bay, which ultimately moved just a little bit north. But the bottom line here is that people like Cook, people like Arthur Phillip, actually brought the Enlightenment, the European Enlightenment, European civilization, European values, the rule of law, justice and fair play, and to the Australian continent in a way that 60,000 years of Aboriginal settlement did not. And I think we have to accept, as Senator Jacinta Price has accepted, that on balance, while there are great blemishes in our history and things to be ashamed of, absolutely, like the Mile Lakes massacre, I think in 1838, that effectively European settlement, European, dare I say it, colonisation has been forced for good in this country. And frankly, having a bit of 19th century historical background myself, not that I was born in the 19th century, I should point out, but certainly I'm across it. I would rather Australia have been settled by the British, colonised by the British, than by the French, by the Germans, and certainly by the Belgians. And if anybody knows the history of the Belgian Congo and what King Leopold II personally did to the natives of the Congo, I think Aboriginal Australians should be very grateful it was Arthur Phillip who came here in 1788 and not those Belgians.